Hello, everyone. I am Brenda Florida, certified life coach, and I want to welcome you to this week's episode of my weekly show, Delight and Desire. Oh, Elizabeth, my favorite, and Scott. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to see you guys. Sherry, so happy to see you here again. So this is, hello, Delight and Desire. Howdy, Sherry. And I am here every week. Oh, and Doreen, so happy to see you. I am here every week, same time, Tuesdays, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, for this show that I call Delight and Desire. So I am a certified life coach. I am a seeker of all things delightful and desirable, of authentic self-expression, freedom, and really living from that place of our truth, which is where all of our personal power resides. So I am so happy you're here and invite you to join me with this every week, because living from our truth, from our true sense of personal power, being unapologetically authentic in our expression, is easier said than done. I mean, there are so many things in our culture, in our families, in our experiences that take us away from even knowing who we are authentically, let alone expressing it unapologetically. So I am so happy that you are here with me today. And I really invite your conversation, your comments. One of the things that actually was brought up to me this week from a client that they wanted to hear me talk more about is the idea of what happens when we are avoiding things. So we all have coping skills that take us away from what delights us and what we desire. And we don't do it intentionally per se, but they just become habits, and avoidance is one of them. So when we are avoiding something in our life, from something very small to something very big, then we start to move ourselves out of our own seat of personal power. And when we are out of connection with our power and our truth, then it sort of like dulls our senses for what delights us and what we desire. That's when we get into times in our lives where it's like, wait a minute, I don't even know what would delight me. What do I desire? So I wonder, for those of you here listening today with me live, and if you're listening to the replay, then just still put your answer to my question in the comments here, because I will respond to them. So let me know, is there an area of your life where you're feeling kind of disconnected from what would delight you, or what your desires are? And it might be easier to think of a specific area. Maybe it's in relationships, or like even just romantic relationships, or if you're married or partnered with somebody in that relationship. It might be professionally. It might be with your own relationship to your own body. It could be anything, but just some area of your life where maybe you have gotten disconnected from what would delight you. So if I asked you, what would delight you today, what would your answer be? I would love to hear that. Drop that in the comments. Any arena of life. And if something doesn't come to mind, if you're having troubles thinking of something, that's cool too. Just put that in the comments, because that's part of what this avoidance coping skill that we pick up creates, is sort of a deadening, a dulling of our delights and desires. So one of the reasons I love to focus on delight and desire is because I think they're a natural connection, or they're a natural outflow, let's say it that way, a natural outflow of the truth of who you are. So what delights me and what I desire is going to be a little different than probably what delights you and what you desire, even if it sounds similar. Like, we're each going to have our own little nuanced things that make, that chocolate cake extra awesome to us, to me versus you or whatever. And it's not about this or that. It's just about knowing that your delights and your desires are part of the unique expression of the divine that you are. And so things like avoidance, things like people pleasing, things like silencing ourselves, those start to take us away from the truth of who we are. And a sort of unintentional repercussion of that is that it dulls our ability to find what delights us and what our desires are, because it's like we're walking away from ourselves, and the farther away we get, the less we can see. So it's a very natural thing to happen, but it is not it's not our true state of being. So Liz Mack, you have asked a great question. Could the avoidance have a hint of procrastination in it? And then Sherry says she's been working on not silencing herself and is so much better. Yes. So let me just affirm that, Sherry, as you have experienced it. Everybody I work with one-on-one has this big opening that they experience as they learn to stop silencing themselves, as they learn to speak up for themselves, as they learn to set boundaries. Like, it frees up all sorts of energy the same way to stop avoiding things frees up energy. We get into avoidance. It's kind of like denial. It's similar to denial. It can have a few different, sort of nuances to it, but there's this sense somewhere, even though we wouldn't necessarily consciously think of it this way, there is a sense that we think some person or situation, circumstance outside of us, has more power than we do. And in that powerlessness, we avoid it as a coping skill because we're not sure we'll know how to deal with it. We're not sure we'll know what to say, or we've just been so conditioned to silence or whatever. We don't think we can, could, should say anything. This is just part of, the way life is. I just have to put up with this job that I don't really like. I'm not happy in my marriage. Well, lots of people aren't happy in our marriage, so we just avoid it. We talk ourselves out of it because we don't feel like we have power in it. And so, Liz, I think one of the things that's interesting about that connection of avoidance and procrastination, I view procrastination probably in a different way than a lot of people do. One, I think procrastination gets a bad rap a lot. I think that there are a certain amount of us, and I am one of them, who works very well under pressure. And so a lot of times people who work well under pressure will wait until towards the last minute of a deadline. Minute not meaning literally, but towards the end of that deadline to get started on the project. And to someone who has a different style of processing and creative flow, that can be very nerve-wracking. I understand that. And sort of classically, then we would call that a procrastinator. So I think that if you work well under pressure, and assuming you're not creating, you're not missing deadlines or creating chaos or something like that, then leaving something till, towards the last minute of its due date can be an effective way for you to work because you're good under pressure and you're good in that last minute. Like, you obviously have to be careful on a practical note to make sure. Sometimes we're sick at the last minute or whatever, and then things don't get done. But assuming we're handling that part of it, that could be that. But we could be avoiding doing it. And if we're in avoidance, that's going to create a different sort of flavor of procrastination, because it's not just that, whatever, I know it's due Friday afternoon. It's going to take me about 3 hours. So I'm going to start, Friday late morning or by lunchtime, because I just know I can, knock it out. If I have that sort of confidence and I've blocked out the time to do it and I have the resources I need, then to me, leaving it till the sort of last minute is not necessarily procrastination. It's just how I like to work, right? But if I'm avoiding it because I don't feel like I have a resource, or I don't feel like it's going to go well for me. Or, you folks tell me I'm sure you can think of something right now. Again, it could be something much smaller than the examples I've used, but something that you are avoiding. You're avoiding, like I've been avoiding, my foot that has been hurting off and on for, frankly, years. I'm a little embarrassed to admit. And I'm going to stop avoiding it now because I'm realizing the price I'm paying for avoiding it, which is that it went from hurting occasionally to hurting all the time. So we avoid for different reasons, but I would love to hear something you all feel like you might be avoiding in your life, and then be able to think of it sort of from this perspective of, is it an area where I feel like I don't have power in it? Now, again, you may not have used those words to think through that before, but now that I'm saying it that way, when we're avoiding something, it's usually because we don't feel like we're going to have power in the situation, or we don't have confidence would be another way to say it. And so we avoid it in, some hope that it's going to go away, I guess, although most things don't. And the price we pay for it is a significant loss of connection to our inner truth, a loss of power, a loss of peace, right? Just that sort of peace that is, I'm in the right place, doing the right thing, being myself, being authentic and true to myself. I don't mean peace in that everything's easy in your life, or that, there are no ups and downs. I mean something that's more transcendent than that, in that kind of feeling state of peace. But okay, so Sherry's been avoiding finishing a series of children's books. You've written only written two presently. I think we could drop the word only. I think it's a delight that you've written two presently, and but haven't submitted any. Decreased confidence. Yeah. So Sherry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but can you feel how actually in avoiding it, inadvertently you were adding to that decreased confidence? Because if I could wave my magic wand and instantly create this for you, I would. I'd wave that wand, and you would feel like you had all the power you needed to handle whatever's going to come up around submitting those books. That would right away start to build that confidence, or you'd look at it and say, okay, well, I have the power in my own life. I'm owning my own personal power, and I see that I have lost my confidence in submitting these books. So I'm going to go get somebody who will help me, right? Like, one of the most empowering things you can do is hire the coach, right? Or whoever the person is, right? That can help you with that. So we don't have, one of the reasons I want to do this program every week is I want to completely destroy this illusion that we are that's so ingrained in us, especially as Westerners, that somehow we should be able to figure out all these things that might be going quote unquote wrong or not be the way we want them in our lives, that we should be able to figure all that out ourselves. No. What we need is to realize I have the power, and right now I realize I've lost my confidence in this particular area, or I realize I can't figure out a solution. I'm going to go get the help I need to figure that out. every client I have that books that 15-minute call, that's, kind of starts the process. And so what I do for people who want to work with me one-on-one, and actually right now I have a couple client openings. So you can go to my bio here in Instagram and click on the link and book that 15-minute connection call. That's a movement of empowerment, because you're saying, hey, I'm going to explore how Brenda might be able to help me, how she might be able to be that catalyst for me to get me over this hump, to get me out of avoidance and into empowerment. And then as I'm in empowerment, help me figure out what my next moves might be. And so all of those things are very empowering. Empowerment doesn't mean we, somehow magically know everything and have all the answers and just, breeze through life. It means we have the power to ask for the help we need too. So, okay, I'm going to go back here, Liz. Okay, so Liz says she's been avoiding answering some emails at work because, yes, she doesn't have the knowledge to get the proper answer. Okay, so yeah, so in that, and then following up to that, I can see here, Liz, that you've not been empowered to work confidently and truly need an outlet to speak your mind for what you need. Yes, yes. And this happens oftentimes in work settings, but it can happen in relationships. It can happen in anything where sometimes we're in a system, right? Like patriarchy or all kinds of other systems, that there's plenty of work systems, the healthcare system, like lots and lots of systems, capitalism as a system that often does not want our empowerment, so to speak. Like nobody can take your empowerment away from you. And I know that's not what you're saying, Liz, because I know you well enough to know that. But we can be in situations where I know I have personal power, but I'm in a system that doesn't really honor that or encourage that or have any interest in that. I mean, I was married to someone who had no interest in me speaking my truth or, doing the thing, live in the way a person lives when they're owning their power. So it could be that the system you're in doesn't really encourage that. And yeah, you do need an outlet to speak your mind for what you need. And sometimes I find that if we have a person, whether you're in like a one-on-one coaching relationship with me, or it's a, just a trusted mentor or person, that you sees you in your power and can help you maybe even just like brainstorm. Okay, I know I'm in this system that doesn't really want me to own my power and speak out, speak my mind in that power. So what else can be done? Like, because it's just hard a lot of times when we're in it to figure it out for ourselves. So how can we potentially, even inside this system, own our power and find some way to speak up or do something, or create for ourselves a safe enough environment if we really feel like we have to stay for a while. Like sometimes, whether it's a relationship or a job or whatever, you can't just go quit tomorrow. But sometimes, you do. And sometimes we need to change that environment. I know one of the things that I've done, and one of the reasons I can see, even with just a few months of hindsight, that my mother's death was so liberating to me, is that she was the last person in my life. And because I'm an entrepreneur and I create my own system for my work environment, and I don't happen to be married or in a romantic relationship. So other than my mother, everybody else in my life that I'm close to at all, loves me when I'm standing in my power, right? Like they love the truth of who I am, and they'll challenge me when they can see I have let go of my power and sort of under the illusion that I don't have any. They'll help me snap out of that, right? And except my mother. And so as much as I tried to not let her opinion of me and her judgments of me influence me, now that she's passed, it's a deeper release. It's a more thorough release even, because now that's just all, gone. And so I say that in love and respect for my mom, because my mom absolutely did the best she could and loved me the best way she could. And there were a lot of things that were very hurtful to me and ways that she was very judgy of me and of my life, and certainly my own empowerment. Primarily because of her having given up her own, right? And so seeing her daughter have it was scary to her sometimes. And I can appreciate that from her own perspective and her own life experiences, while not wanting to take it on myself. And so, Liz, I hope, did that make sense at all? Like what I was saying, like finding that way, like you're saying, that outlet to be able to speak your mind for what you need, like really even just knowing there's so much power in realizing, in kind of naming, okay, no sugarcoating. I'm going to name this. I gave that person, that situation, that job, that something, my power. And we do it all the time. It's very easy to do in our careers. And even if you're an entrepreneur, then it's easy to do it with your clients. Your clients have the power, And so now, I had a client for both unexpected and unavoidable reasons had to quit their work with me yesterday. I wasn't planning on it. They weren't planning on it. And so I had, when I got the message about it, I had the disappointment because I love working with them. They've done great things in the months that we've worked together, and I was looking forward to continuing it. Of course, on a practical level, it has a financial impact. So I could look at that and feel like, oh my gosh, now I'm not going to have enough money. I'm not going to have enough, whatever. It could throw me into scarcity. And with scarcity, there's no power. The client has all the power. If they hadn't canceled, if they hadn't, whatever, then they have all the power. I don't have all the power. Instead, I see it as an opportunity now. As I just said, I had a spot open, that I didn't have open before. And so there must be someone else who needs to work with me, that for them, it's the right time and the right place, and I'm the right coach. And, we have that 15-minute connection call to check all that out so that you can tell and I can tell we're going to be able to work together, and that I, have what you need for your particular challenge. So now there's an opening. So from an empowered place, I'm just going to say, okay, yay, someone else is coming. But from a disempowered place, I'm going to feel defeated, maybe scared financially, maybe even irritated at the client for, dropping out at the last minute, like whatever, all kinds of things could pop up. Or in our theme of today, I could avoid it. I could just go into la la land and pretend it's not happening because thinking about it scares me, because I don't feel like I have power. And that's why I connect so much this concept of avoidance with a lack of power, because when we have when we're back to being connected with our true sense of personal power, we can do all manner of hard things and find the resources we need, get the people to help us, whatever it is. And sure, it may not be the most fun thing you've ever had to do, leaving jobs, leaving relationships, in some of these bigger things, going to the doctor for my foot. I'm not loving that, but I want the outcome of it. And so when we have our power, we can face the difficult conversation. We can find the resources. We can find that outlet, Liz, to speak your mind, it's only when we don't feel like we have the power that all seems so impossible, and the other person or the situation feels so much bigger than us, and it just feels like, well, no, it's not going to matter anyway, like all these things that it's so easy to say. And so when we're in avoidance, that's just like the red flag to me that we have lost our power in that situation. I think always, fundamentally, I believe life is always bringing us exactly what we need to go to the next level of our own evolution. So the whole reason something came up that made you want to avoid it is so that you could see, oh, wait a minute, I'm avoiding this. So, okay, what's here for me so that I can elevate into my next level of evolution. Okay, so something that resonated with Liz was become an entrepreneur and stand in my own power. Yes, stepping out. There's so many things. I think this is part of the reason why being an entrepreneur, I think, has just become so much more popular in the last few years than it was even before, is that so many people are sick of the, I'm just going to even say work systems, right? It doesn't have to be corporate per se, although there's a lot of it happening there. But it could be a small business, with 10 employees, but the owner and the leader has created a system that doesn't allow you to use your voice. Well, then that's not a system you want to be in, And so a lot of us end up going out on our own to break out of that system. And hopefully over time, I don't know that I'll see it in my lifetime, but over time, as all of us evolve and collective consciousness evolve, those of us who are creating open systems that honor people's truth, that will become more the norm, and people won't feel like they have to, run from all these unhealthy systems we've created over the last 100 or 200 years. But it does, stepping out of avoidance will allow you, thank you, dear, will allow you to get back in your power. And if you don't know how, like, if you just have that awareness of, okay, I'm avoiding this, and okay, I can even get where Brenda's saying, yeah, I don't feel like I have power in this, but I don't know how to get it back. That's okay. Maybe this is why this client opening came in my life for you. Go book that 15-minute call and let's talk about it, because there's nothing wrong with you needing help to get you from the awareness into the new version of you. Nothing wrong with that. That's the beauty for me of what I do. And when I hire people to help me do it as well. So the problem is not the problem. It is how we choose to handle it or not handle it, like avoidance is or denial is. But it's, silencing ourselves. It's like, it's what we do about it. It's our response to it, not a reaction, but a response, which to me is response, means I have chosen it. I've gotten in my power. I'm in my own awareness, and I am choosing how I want to respond in this situation, even if it's super difficult, even if it's, whatever, I'm super nervous about it. But I'm going to be able to show up in it in my power and do it anyway, because that's what being in our power allows us to do. So thank you so much for your contribution to this conversation, Liz Mack and Sherry and Davi. Thank you for joining us. And everyone else who watches this in, the replay version of it, drop your comments, any questions you have for me, any topic you would like to have me address. This topic came up because somebody at my fitness center asked me about it, and I talk about it all the time with clients. And so, oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Choice and response. Yes, it is always ours, even when it feels like it's not. So thank you for being with me today. Oh, you're welcome. My joy and pleasure. And join me again next week. Tuesday, I do Delight and Desire every Tuesday at noon Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern. And I love to hear from you. So hop in my bio, book that 15-minute call or DM me, whatever feels good to you. And let's have that conversation. All right. Love you all. Mwah!